right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thank you for being with us for this Monday edition of the broadcast. It is Monday, November the 1st, 2010, and we're going to be coming to you live for the next few hours with all of the day's news and information that we have to get into and discuss with you here today on the show. There's lots of it, lots of important issues and things I want to talk about with you here on the broadcast today. First things first, to get out of the way, we're having an emergency fundraiser right now. We've got $150 we've got to raise for the rest of the bills for the month of October that have to be due today. This is an emergency situation. We have to have $150 today. We had extraneous bills that came up this month for website hosting and things of that nature, and so it tacked on additional money, and we're already late on this stuff, and it's got to be in today. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to access the website, which means I'm not going to be able to get up here and tell you that we need your support and everything else, and we're not going to have a show, a radio network, or anything else. So we're in a red alert situation here. We have a chip and banner up there. The date ends on it November 3rd, but it won't let you make it for more than a couple of days. But we have to have that money in there today, $150. So I have to have this immediately. I'm not I'm not in any position where I cannot get this cash in today. So we need $150 today. It's not that much. Our listenership over the past month has gone through the roof, and attacks on me and my work and everything else have gone through the roof. Our numbers are huge right now, but the numbers versus the support that we get in is nothing. We do not have, let me say it for the 1 billionth time, we do not have advertising. We do not have commercials. We do not ask you to buy a goddamn thing on this network. We're not here to sell stuff. I'm not a salesman. I'm not here to use this information for my own gain to try and sell products so I can eat free enchiladas every night and go hobnob with the stars and everything else like some people out there like to do. I'm here to do the work in exposing evil and tyranny on this planet, and it requires money to do it. That's all there is to it. One of my listeners last night in the chat room was asking me, and this person's a great supporter of ours who's helped out and came and helped me out with a couple of months ago with some cash for the Secret Right Volume 2. And he had challenged, person had challenged me to get the film out by October, and it was impossible to do that because of you have no control over how long it takes to get footage in and all this other stuff. So but anyway, I was having a conversation with that person in the chat room last night, and they were asking me how much it costs a month to run everything. And all bills, everything else is about $800 a month to pay everything to run the network a month. Everything that includes the rent for the studio. Back in March, we moved to a different location, which increased how much I have to pay per month so that we could have a studio room to do the show in. I don't know if I made that very clear at the time, but I mean, I was living in a trailer house for 2 years doing the show with my brother in a little cramped room. And I never got on here and talked about that, how bad that sucked, or got up here and talked about how shitty that was for 2 years I never did it. You've never heard me once get up here and do that, but I did do that. And I'm no longer in that situation. But, these are things that I've done, as well as starting the radio network back December to try and improve what we're doing here. And so when we have an influx of listenership and the listenership goes up, but yet the support that we get in is only coming from, honestly, there's 2 or 3 people out there. And if it wasn't for these 2 or 3 people that support us every month, we wouldn't be here. I'd probably be homeless and probably living under a bridge somewhere if it wasn't for the 2 or 3 people that donate every month and keep us alive. And you know who you are. So, I just, I hate to have to start the show off like this today, but we're in a red alert situation here to where we need to get an influx of cash. And not only that, the person I was talking to last night, he asked me how much it costs, and everything a month. And he said, wow, that doesn't leave a lot left over for food and for making films, does it? And I said, no, it doesn't leave anything left over for that. In fact, yet again, the only money we get in for that is when we get, is generally, you guys don't understand this. I got to be honest with you. A couple of people that are keeping us alive are also the ones that are helping us make our films. We got a couple of people that donate significantly to us when they can. And, this is a couple of people that are keeping us alive. And, we just need more help. They need more help. They need more help from you, everybody out there. if I have to resort to selling dick pills and Jew gold and everything else to stay alive, I'll quit. And I will go live under a bridge, because I am not going to reduce myself to the level of these other clowns out there who are nothing but salesmen for products. If you want a salesman for a product, why don't you go down to Walmart and have a conversation about the New World Order with a guy down there selling Chinese slave goods? Because I'm not the man for that. A lot of people willing to take on that role. A lot of people willing to sell shit and junk in order to be able to survive and live. And I got told before I ever went on air that the only way you can keep a network alive is to sell gold. And that seems to be the general's rather modus operandi for people that run networks that put out this kind of information. Now, again, for me, that's not an option. I will not resort to that option. I don't care. I'm not going to get up here and hawk products and have to bring up, people on the show to try to sell you their products a couple times a month and all that horse shit. That doesn't have anything to do with the information. That doesn't have anything to do with the task at hand. And I'm sorry. I just hate doing anything that's having anything to do with the task at hand. It drives me crazy. I mean, I have to do shit like that sometimes in the Demigods and the band that I'm in with Delphi and my sister Jamie. And we we had to go do this. I had to do this photo shoot over the weekend because we're submitting to get into South by Southwest next year. And, I had to go do a photo shoot on Friday. And it's fun, but it's not the kind of shit that I like to do. But it's necessary and it has to be done. But again, it doesn't really have anything to do with the music. So I'm, while I see those things as necessary, it's not really something I'm into. I'm the same way with this stuff. I'm not, if I have to do extraneous things that don't have anything to do with the information, I'm just not into that. Because I didn't get into this fuck around, in the words of Lee Rogers. So there you go. So we need to raise this cash today. So anybody that could contribute out there to get us the rest of the way, that'll get us the rest of the way on the bills. And then I'll be broke again after that, and I won't have any money to eat tonight. But you know what? And I probably won't have money for cigarettes or anything like that, but whatever. I don't care. I just need to get cash in here so we can pay these bills. Otherwise, we're gone. We can't continue. So please help us out today, and I'll do my best to try and not be distracted by that and get out some semblance of a radio show here for you today. There is lots of news and information to get into. You can join us in the chat room as well at my website, www.theglobalreality.com. That is www.theglobalreality.com. You can join us there in the chat room, and it's an interactive part of the show. And there's always people hanging out in there and people you can talk to, visit with, and hopefully gain some information and, see what everybody else's perspective is and talk about your perspective. And because contrary to popular belief, the majority of people in the chat room don't always agree with everything that I say. And I don't always agree with everything they say, but that's not, that's stupid to even, it's such a phony premise to even think like that. I mean, I can't believe that there are people out there that believe, and that comes from, really does come from a cult mentality. That's what a cult mentality is. And people have been conditioned into these cult mentalities because that's what the marketing gurus instill in people. They instill a cult mentality. The mainstream news does it. Party politics does it. Anything that's ever been sort of considered a movement, or anything that is, more than two people with the same similar ideology, it always becomes this thing where a dogma is instilled in it. Religion does that as well. And you don't get that here. That's not what any of us are trying to do here. Really, the majority of people that listen to this show and tune into this show and hang out in the chat room are people that, if they don't have this show and they don't have the chat room, then they're sort of cast out, because they've woken up to the phony controlled patriot movement. They've woken up to Alex Jones and all the rest of these people. And honestly, if we're not here and we go away, then we have a whole lot of disenfranchised people out there who don't have a place to go and have people to relate to, because, again, they've pulled themselves out of that cult mentality. So that's, that's what I pride myself on being able to do here, and what we're able to do with the show and the radio network and everything else. And I fight tooth and nail every month to keep this thing going, to keep it continuing, to keep the message. I mean, that's all I do 7 days a week is this, or something that relates to it. It's become and consumed and become everything about my life. And I'd love to be able to go and do something else. I'd love to be able to get out there and go I'd like to be able to live in a world where I didn't have to do any of this, but that's just not the reality. I'd like to not have to rely on the generosity of people every month and live hand to mouth and all this stuff. And, I'd like to be able to not have to do that, but that's unfortunately the situation that we're in requires me to do this. If we didn't have all these, honestly, if we didn't have all these spooks and infiltrators and operators and people that are leading well-meaning, good-hearted people who just want truth down rat holes, people like the Truth Movement, the Patriot Movement, Alex Jones and others, if we didn't have those type of people out there, and that stuff wasn't going on, I probably wouldn't still be doing this. I would just at this point have probably have said, all right, well, you know what? Fuck it. There's enough people out there exposing the New World Order, whatever else. And so, me throwing my hat into the arena is not really necessary anymore. But unfortunately, because we do have all these operators and all these people that are appearing to tell the truth, yet they're spewing just as many lies and just as many half-truths as the mainstream media is, it requires me to be here. That's just that's just a fact. So I think that's what we have to offer here at this network, is we offer people, an outlet. We offer people someplace that they can go. Thank you, Ace McFly. You sent 50 in the chat room. Thank you so much. Thank you to you, Guyman. I see you in there. Guyman sent one over from SlitScan Media earlier today, so thank you so much, Guyman, to that one. And that's helped us a lot. So, that's the whole thing, is I think that there's a lot of people out there. I just feel that we have, it's nice to have a place where people can come and hang out and just be themselves. Nobody's judging you at the chat room or judging you over here or anything else. People can come and you can be yourself. And, if you believe something that necessarily I don't believe or whatever else, hey, well, let's have a conversation about it. I've gotten so many messages and stuff from people that are no planers. I'm not personally a no planer. I do consider that research to be, just as valid though as anything else, because at least it's still people looking for truth. But I've gotten emails and stuff from people that are no planers that have said, hey, thanks for being at least open about it. If you're not all the way into the information, at least you're not like trying to poo-poo it and say it's all horseshit. But I mean, to me, that goes hand in hand with the people who try to create dogmatic viewpoints on things. All this stuff is an open investigation. There are some things that we have irrefutable evidence to back up. And so those things become, your sort of static truths. But there's not a lot of static truths. There really isn't. There isn't a lot of this stuff. I mean, it's constantly ever changing. My viewpoint on this stuff is constantly ever changing all the time. And that's how it should be. I mean, if you still think the same way about this stuff that you thought about it 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and there are a lot of people that do, I think you should seriously reconsider, whether or not you are continuing to do your own research or you're just listening to what somebody has to say about this stuff. I watched a great documentary over the weekend.